Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF, mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify their fitness journey so they can lose weight, regain their confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host. And the topic for today's podcast, today's episode, came from a little solo moment that I was having, kind of really analyzing what are the traits that our most successful members have. I have been a coach for 15 years, and we've helped in my many different programs over 5,000 women, and probably pushing to 6,000, but let's say 5,000. So I think it's pretty fair to say that I have a very good pool of data to look at and see what are the characteristics of our most successful members. What is it that they have that the ones who might not be as successful don't have? And the reason I can say this is because everybody that comes into the Powerhouse Academy has access, and that's something that I repeat all the time to our members. You guys have access to the same resources. Obviously, the resources are going to be utilized and are going to be created in a bit of a different manner to each individual because everything that we do is fully customized. But the access to a registered dietitian, the access to a trainer in your pocket, the access to a counselor, it's all there for all our members. So I had my theory, but I was like, you know what? Let me do something different. Let me ask our successful members what they see as the key to fitness success for them, what they perceive to be their key to fitness success. And what I found very interesting, which shows their level of self-awareness, is that a lot of the things that they mentioned is very similar to what I had picked as the reason why they are successful. So I love how the self-awareness and the understanding what it is that things go right and what it is that things go wrong, and being able to analyze that and make the right decision. So today we're going to be talking about the 7 keys to fitness success according to my top members in the Powerhouse Academy. And I believe that anybody is going to be able to take something from this, because I always say that fitness and fitness success has parallels to many other aspects of life. And as I start to talk about the keys, you are really going to understand why I'm saying this. I think that we can put parallels with fitness, with your career, with building wealth, with relationships, with almost everything in life. I really find that fitness can be a reflection on how you navigate other areas of life. So anybody can gain value from today's podcast. And if you find value in today's podcast, please make sure that you share with a friend. That's your way to pay me back. If you find value, if you like, share this episode, leave a review. I love when you guys leave review for me, leave review for the show. It really incentivizes me and really gives me like the freaking butterflies, whatever you want to call, to keep on delivering quality content. So if you could please be so kind and do that, share this episode, drop a review, share on your social media. My Instagram is down on the show notes. You can tag me, I'll reshare it. So thank you very much if you can do that. So the first key to fitness success, according to one of our top members, is staying consistent. Summer said Consistency with creating new habits and sticking with them have helped me reach my goal. This has included habits of prepping my food, as well as the habit of getting up earlier to get my workouts in. And listen, I know where you're probably saying, oh, Nathalia, I'm going to listen to this podcast to learn about consistency. I already know that. I get it. But I want to offer a different spin here for you listening this podcast. A lot of people are obsessed with consistency. I'm all about it. But the problem for most people to stay consistent is that they are following something, they're following a strategy that does not work for their lives. They go and they, get a PDF, or they follow a workout from YouTube, or they go and, join a 4-week challenge that is a cookie cutter stuff. It's going to be very hard for you to stay consistent with a strategy that does not understand your life. So just something to keep in mind, because the key to consistency is knowing that you are going to be able to keep on doing that on a regular basis. Like, for example, for me, I'm a former Olympia champion. Olympia, for you guys that don't know, is the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world. And I won that in 2012 in the bikini division. At the time, I was single. I didn't have kids. I dated my husband long distance. If you have never watched that episode on the story on how I dated my husband long distance, it's episode 3 on this podcast. I've heard that people love it. So there's that. So you can listen to that one after you're done with this episode. So I could spend hours in the gym. I could spend several hours meal prepping and then have a meal every 2 hours and eat nothing but lettuce and freaking ice cubes and tilapia and broccoli and asparagus and all the bullshit. I could do that because I didn't have a whole lot more going on in my life apart from work and competing and dating my husband long distance. If I were to follow the same strategy that I had when I competed now as a mom of 2, a business owner, a working mom, some days I'm working 12 hours. So my work week is about 50 to 60 hours. I have a husband. I have friends that I want to maintain a relationship. I would not be able to stay consistent with that strategy for the life that I have right now. So even whenever we're talking about consistency, we need to understand that the plan needs to support your consistency. Because I'll be able to stay consistent if I were to go back with my Olympia prep or competition prep kind of strategy. I'll be able to stick with that for probably like a month tops. And I'll be like, yeah, no, it's a no from me, man. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. So number 1 key to fitness success. The first one is staying consistent, according to one of our top members. Then we're going to go to number 2, which is trusting the process. And Pam is a member of ours that has lost, as of the recording of this podcast, she has lost 113 pounds in 10 and a half months, 11 months. And Pam said, trusting the process and the coaches, even when I had doubts. And then she put in parentheses, in myself. And I'm pretty sure that she had doubts about the process as well, because Pam came from a strategy that it was the extreme. She had done the Optavia. So it was eating like 800 calories and then the weight would just disappear in like a month, but then she couldn't be consistent with that. So she would go backwards. So whenever she joined the Powerhouse Academy, I could see that there was a little bit of hesitation because that was very different from what she was used to. She was eating peanut butter. She was eating chocolate. She was, quote unquote, allowed to have a couple glasses of wine. There was no restriction like she was used to. And she messaged us several times. Oh my God, is this not too much food? But she trusted the process. And this is a problem that I feel like a lot of people have, is that there are 2 camps. There is camp number one of those who get help, they hire help, but they want to keep on doing what they were doing before and not trusting the process that the people that they have hired to help them have designed. And that is going to be problematic, because the reality is that if what you were doing was working, you wouldn't have reached out for help. And I understand that trust is a process, but if you're coming from a place where you are aware that what you were doing was not working, then we need to try something different. So that's camp number one. And camp number two is somebody who is trying to do it on their own. And then they keep on flip-flopping their strategy. And because they keep on flip-flopping their strategy, they're never going to trust the process, because they're not really quite sure that the process is going to get them to where they want to be. And a question that I like to ask people is like, have you ever been lost? And the person's probably going to be like, yeah. And I'm like, do you go fast or slow? And then the person always answers me, slow. And I'm like, exactly. How are you going to be fast in a process that you do not trust, in a direction that you don't even know if it's the good one? And that's why that coaching relationship you need to ask the hard questions. You need to, I'm a big believer with the ladies that reach out to work with us, or whoever you decide to work with. See if the person, the potential coach, could put you in contact with one of their existing members. That's something that I do quite often. And that's why I love doing interviews on my Instagram with existing members, because if I do not have that potential member trust, it's going to be very hard to create change. So I need to gain the trust of the person who I'm helping, and I really need that person to trust the process that we are laying out for them. And fighting the process is not going to fix the problem. It's just going to delay the problem. And I'm not saying, I want to make it very clear, I'm not saying that it's not okay to ask questions. It's not like, it is okay to ask questions. It is okay to want to know. I wish I had asked more questions whenever I was getting ready for fitness competitions, because there was a whole bunch of fuckery that I did that now in hindsight, I'm like, holy shit, like surely I could have asked a few questions. So I'm all about the questions. But there is a difference between asking questions to know and asking questions just because you think that your way is the only way. And the reality is that if your way was working, you wouldn't have reached out for help, or you wouldn't be flipping and flopping whatever strategy it is that you are doing. So just something to keep in mind. So far, the keys to fitness success, according to my top members, are: 1, is staying consistent; 2, trusting the process. So now let's talk about the number 3. Number 3 is not having a fixed mindset. And this, in my opinion, is like quite possibly up there on the top 3 most important keys to success, according to me. And I found that it was great that one of our successful members has said that as well. And here's what Adrian said. Adrian said, accepting the off-plan days, not beating yourself up when they happen, because that's life, and learning how to recover from them and get right back on plan. One of the biggest reasons why people stay on a cycle with their nutrition, with their plan, with their career, with their finances, with everything is that obsession with thinking that there is just that one way of doing things. And if that one way that is perfect is not done, then let's throw the baby with the bathwater. And the reality is, especially as you start to have more responsibilities, you start to have kids, you start to ascend on your career path, things are not always going to be perfect. They just are not. And if you think that your fitness journey is going to be perfect all the time, that is a fixed mindset that is going to keep you stuck. And it's interesting because we have a member. I'm not going to say her name, but I think she'll be okay with me telling her story. No, she is going to be okay with me telling her story. I'm just not going to say her name. But she just recently went to Disney with her family. And she's a new member. And then whenever she came back, I was checking in with her. I was like, hey, how are you? How was the trip? And she was like, oh my God, it sucked. And I'm like, whoa, happiest place on earth. How the hell did it suck? And she was like, well, I couldn't stick 100% to my plan. And then they didn't have the foods that I wanted available. And like, she just went on about everything that didn't allow her to be like 100% on point with everything about her plan. And then I waited for her to finish and I was like, okay, let me ask you this. Are you going to stop traveling with your family? And then she goes, no. And I'm like, okay. Did you have a good time with your family and with your son in Disney? Oh my God, it was a blast. He loved it. And I asked her, I'm like, okay. And then whenever you came back, were you, had you gained as much weight as you normally would? Or were you able to get right back on plan and it was almost like nothing happened? She was like, oh yeah, I was able to get back on plan and it was like nothing happened. And I'm like, wouldn't you call that a win? Because you're not going to stop traveling with your family. Isn't that right? And she's like, 100%. And I'm like, right. So the whole idea that, okay, if I cannot get a 1 hour workout that is 100% perfect and I'm giving my best at all times and I'm hitting PRs every single time and my nutrition is perfect, that's not real life. That is not real life. Cannot begin to tell you how many times I've had ice cream for breakfast. Next day, or even next meal, I'm like, and I'm back on track. Because that fixed mindset is going to keep you stuck, learning to let go of sometimes things that you can't control. School call because your kid is sick and now you might have to cut your workout short. It happens. Happens to me, happens probably to you, it happens to a lot of the parents that you know. So understanding it is okay to have a plan, to give some kind of structure to your day. Okay, I work out in the morning and then, that's always when my workout happens. But there are some days that it might have to happen around lunchtime. Instead of beating myself up because it didn't happen in the morning, because maybe I had to take my child to a doctor's appointment, just understand that life happens and there is a little bit of a detour, but then the next day you're back on track. So a fixed mindset's not going to serve you. And understanding that not having a fixed mindset is a substantial key to success when it comes to long-term success with your fitness goals. That is going to be life-changing. All right. Number 4 is going to be very similar to number 3, but there are some things that I want to elaborate on it. So that's why I put them in 2 separate categories. Number 4 is not having an all or nothing approach. And this member that wrote this, I'm very proud of her because this was Anne. And I'm going to tell you a little story about Anne. Anne has been a gym rat for 32 years. She's 48 years young, 47 or 48. She's been lifting for 32 years and should be somebody that you're like, oh my God, why the hell does she need help? I'll tell you. Whenever Anne reached out to us, she had been going to the same vacation spot for 15 years. And every single time that trip was booked, 8 weeks before, she would just go crazy with like 100% cutting out all carbs and training for 3 hours a day and going like all in with extremes. And, she had no energy to do anything else in her life because it was like, okay, it's an all thing. And then she would go on the trip. The moment that she would get there, you'd be a nothing. She wouldn't train at all. She would go off the rails with her nutrition. And then the changes were so drastic that she didn't feel comfortable taking photos. She hardly has photos from those trips. And then she would come back home and she would be 10 pounds heavier. Obviously not after about a week. Obviously, I'm not saying that all of that was fat gain. Some of it probably because of the overeating episodes after a long period of restriction. After joining the Powerhouse Academy, Anne went to that same vacation spot, which she goes every year. And for the first time in now 16 years, she was able to go to that spot without having to be overly restricted for 8 weeks. We didn't really change much or at all, really, to her plan. There was no extra crazy cardio. There was no aggressive cutting on calories. She went to her vacation, stayed there for a week, and she came back. She was 1 pound heavier, which she lost the following day, which was probably just water retention from the flight. 1 pound. And this is something that I see often. It's like, okay, I'm going on a trip, so I'm going to, cut down the carbs, and I'm going to cut out the sugar, and I'm going to cut out the alcohol, and I'm going to. Why? And especially as we go into the holiday season, the all or nothing mentality is going to be everywhere. I'm going to tell you how. Just so you can stay aware that you're not doing this. Oh, I already had a slice of that pie that is not part of my plan, so I might as well just go ahead and eat the whole fucking pie, and then I'll start fresh tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and then it's like, but it's already November, and I already messed up yesterday, so I'm going to wait until January, and then I'll start again next year. This is a pattern that I see every single year, and it is an all or nothing pattern of behavior. Why does it have to be that if you had like that one little slice of pie that it needs to become the whole pie? Why does it have to be that you need to be on a diet that has a label and that you have to starve yourself and cut all the joy in your life? Or the other option, the nothing, is to just go off the rails and eat for a family of 25 and then pick it back up fresh again on the imaginary Monday. Why does it have to be that way? It doesn't. And that is a key transition on the mindset of our successful members and what they determine as a key to success, which I 100% agree, is to let go of the idea of all or nothing. Now let's move to number 5. And I love number 5. Big fan. Number 5 is keep it simple and realistic to the life you have now. And here's what Eva said. Eva said, I'm feeling like a queen. I'm not feeling hungry. I have energy and still am able to lose weight. The program is easy to follow, doesn't have a crazy approach of eating like 1,200 calories a day and spending 2-3 hours in the gym. And the reason for that is because it is simple, which then makes it doable. And that is another mistake that I see a lot of people doing. They think that in order for something to be efficient, it has to be overly complicated. And then we have to be talking about, in the carb cycle. And then I have to have this amount of protein this day. And then it has to be this amount of carbs the next. How about we just find something that allows you to be consistent for 2 weeks at least? Because I can say this for myself, and I can say this for the majority of the ladies that we work with. We're busy, okay? And the more layers of complexity that you add to the process, the harder it's going to be for you or anybody, especially if this is not your job, to stay consistent. Oh, because day one is these elaborated recipes with like 50 million ingredients with like the freaking blood of a virgin from the Himalayan. And like, why? Why does it have to be all this complicated stuff? Why don't we go back? Oh, and my workouts, no, this is just simple. Why do I have like a drop set, German volume training, and then we have a pyramid up and a pyramid down, and then there's occlusion training, and then is the cardio going to be before, after? How about we focus on what you can do? How about we focus on the amount of time that you have and what is realistic for the amount of time that you have? How about we don't think about drop sets, German volume training, and all that jazz? They're all amazing things, but they're amazing things for those that are already being consistent with whatever strategy it is that they're following. Talking about all the bougie fancy stuff before addressing the basics is like trying to teach a baby the biomechanics of a sprint when the baby doesn't even know how to fucking walk. And oftentimes people are so obsessed about the trees and the leaves on the trees and like, what color should the flowers on the trees? And oh my goodness, is the tree good? Is it organic? Instead of looking at the forest. And I'm pretty sure that for those listening right now, there is a big chance that 90% of y'all are obsessing on the trees and how organic the tree is. And this is something that I see often in Facebook groups. Somebody who is severely overweight, which will have a lot of health consequences, throwing a temper tantrum because something is not organic. Not eating organic, being severely overweight has a lot more life-threatening consequences than not eating a fucking organic apple. Oh, because it's processed sugar. Being 100 pounds overweight, it's much more concerning about the processed sugar. So why are we obsessing about the processed sugar or the apple being organic or not, instead of focusing on creating a simple strategy that person who needs to lose 100 pounds is going to be able to stick to? Do you see what I'm saying? So that was 5. And then number 6 is from Sabrina. And Sabrina says, hire help. A key to fitness success, according to Sabrina and our top members, is hire help. And here's what she said. Humility and return to the basics. Remembering that even the greats, like Serena Williams, benefit from coaching. We all need that outside to call us out on our BS and help us stay straight. The idea that I find it so arrogant that somebody thinks that they are so good that they cannot get help from somebody else, even though they have been trying to do it on their own and they have been stuck for years, months, years, decades even. And I find that even more interesting because in our amongst our members, we have former professional athletes. We have former Olympia athletes. We have registered dietitians. We have doctors. We've had nutritionists, weight loss coaches, somebody that owned a weight loss clinic. So we have all those people that, technically speaking, have the tools, but they are feeling stuck. There is something missing. And they acknowledge that they too need help. And then you have somebody that started doing Beachbody 2 days ago and they're like, oh my God, I totally know what to do. I'm like, bitch, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be stuck. I have been lifting weights for 25 years, which that's when I started going to the gym at 14. I'm 39 now. And I have a coach. I have a coaching business that is doing well. And I have 3 coaches help me with different aspects of my business. Why? Because I don't know everything. I still learn from my fitness coach every single day. I've been coaching for 15 years and I still learn every single day from my business coach as well. So the whole idea that, oh, I should know what to do. Well, the truth is that if you've been stuck, you probably don't. So you can either stay there and keep on telling yourself that you're so amazing that you don't need help while things get worse, or you can get help that is going to simplify the process and is going to free up some time and energy for you to do the things that you love doing and that maybe you are not an expert in the fitness aspect. So you can use your time to focus on the things that you are an expert in. So I loved that she mentioned this. And then last but not least, we have be coachable. Pavlina said, listening to the coaches in hard times and accepting their support with open mind. It's very unlikely that you're going to hire a coach and that coach would want you to get like the worst outcome possible for several reasons. Because a coach will want you to succeed just because, like, I love seeing our members succeed from a personal level. Like, I just love seeing women grow and, have the confidence to step out of their comfort zones and ask for a raise and improve their marriages and take the freaking photos with their kids and, to schedule a boardwalk photo shoot to give to their husband. That shit fires me up. Money aside, everything aside, that fires me up. Knowing that I have, I'm going to use Pam as an example, that joined us at 300 pounds. And since losing 113 pounds, she has ran 2 triathlons, sprint triathlons. She has ran a 5K. She has traveled in an airplane, which she was she hadn't done in a very long time because she was uncomfortable that she could potentially not fit in the seat. That right there fires me up because it is incredible to see people truly living their lives instead of just existing. So I can take this from myself and our team, which is fucking an amazing team. We give a shit. We care. We truly care about our members. And the second piece is you guys or our members are my business card. So if I give you advice and you don't look apart, oh my God, Nathalia is coaching her. Look at that. Ew, I'm not going to go to Nathalia. So why is it that a lot of times people do not open themselves up to different strategies and different ways of doing things and are not coachable? Because chances are that a good coach is going to have your best interest in heart. So the moment that you do get help, be that from a coach or an advice from somebody you trust, you need to be coachable. Because fighting the advice of that somebody is giving you that you asked just makes you an asshole and it's not going to solve the problem. So you have to be coachable in order for you to be successful. So just a little quick of a recap. Here are the 7 key to fitness success according to my top members. Number 1 is staying consistent. Number 2, trusting the process. Number 3, not having a fixed mindset. Number 4, not having an all or nothing approach. Number 5, keep it simple and realistic to the life that you have right now. Number 6, hire help. And number 7, whenever you do hire the help, make sure that you are coachable. Because if you have chosen the help that you hired accordingly and you've done your due diligence, fighting with that help is not going to solve the problem. So now I want to ask you, out of the 7 keys that I described here that are top members and that I can very much get behind every single one of them, let me know on my social media, on my Instagram at Nathalia Melo Fit. The link is down below. Which one was the one that spoke to you the most, that you feel like you do have to improve in them? And kind of like I said in the beginning, I really think that all these keys are important in all aspects of life. You're not going to be successful in your career if you don't stay consistent, if you don't trust the process, if you have a fixed mindset, if you have an all or nothing approach, if you don't keep it simple, if you don't hire help. At some point, you're going to have to outsource a few things to free up your time to do the things that you're good at. And if you're not coachable, especially if you're just learning something, if you're starting something, you are going to have all these characteristics. And that's one thing that I love so much about fitness, is because a lot of the lessons that you get from it can be applied to all other aspects of life. So I feel like the weight room and training piece and the nutrition piece and everything that you accomplish in your fitness journey, you can learn and take those learning lessons and apply it to your life. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. Please make sure that you share, comment, leave a review, send a smoke sign. Just kidding. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment or voice message at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on Instagram and let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. As for today, this is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.